May the 4th be with you. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy here today to kick off a new segment here on my channel called BCG Spoiler Talk. Now, as the title clearly states, I mean, it's so obvious, guys. I'll be talking about major spoilers from movies, anime, and TV shows that I've recently watched. So if you don't want anything spoiled for you, do not watch any of these upcoming segments. And I decided to start doing this actually because a lot of people have asked me, hey, can you do spoiler reviews for like some of the animes you watch or some of the movies you watch? I'd like to know a little bit more about what you mean by this statement or what you meant by that statement. And honestly, I wanted to do this since Captain America the Winter Soldier came out. It's just, I'm not gonna lie, I got really lazy and then I ended up not doing it, and that's what happened. But the laziness has been washed off of me, and now I'm here to talk spoilers. And before I start this spoiler talk, check out this cool shirt that I just got from Universal Islands of Adventure. Badass, huh? Look who's in the middle, guys. He's the man. And speaking of Marvel superhero characters, today we'll be talking spoilers from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. You all saw this coming. Now, I've already said this, but I'm gonna say this one more time just in case you weren't listening. If you have not seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and you don't want anything ruined for you, do not watch this video. If you want to know a little bit more about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, go see my non-spoiler review. It's on my channel, or you can just fast forward to the end of this video. There'll be a link there. Click that link. It'll send you straight to that video. But if you don't want anything ruined, stop watching now. Have they left? Okay, good. Now we can get into spoiler territory. Now, the biggest spoiler in this entire movie, although I personally don't think it's a spoiler, because if you know the Spider-Man comics, you knew this was coming, and that is the death of Gwen Stacy. Yes, they actually killed off Gwen Stacy in this movie. Although, like I said, it's not a big shock to a lot of people who already know a lot of the Spider-Man stories. We all know about Gwen Stacy's tragic death, and there was a lot of foreshadowing even before the movie started. I mean, the fact that the Green Goblin was in the movie, the fact that, you know, Gwen Stacy is the main love interest in this Spider-Man reboot, it was gonna happen. I mean, it was just gonna happen. It was just a matter of time. But was it well executed? I personally think that it was. It was so good that I actually turned away from the screen. I actually did this during some of the death scene because I couldn't watch it. And even though I knew it was coming, it still left an emotional impact on me even after I left the movie. Why? Because I really liked the relationship between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy portrayed in The Amazing Spider-Man and even in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, to the point where her death actually affected me. I was really sad, and I felt really bad for Peter. I mean, this was the love of his life, guys. And not only did he witness her die, but he also was somewhat responsible for her death. Now, in the comics, it's a little bit different. The Green Goblin grabs her and he drops her off of a bridge, I believe, and then he tries to save her by shooting his web to grab her foot. It does, but she snaps her neck in the process, and Peter, thinking he did save her, is shocked to find out that she's dead. In this movie, she's falling to her death in a clock tower. He shoots her web, but sadly, he doesn't reach her in time, and she hits her head on the pavement, thus killing her. And when he comes down to see her, she's gone. And Andrew Garfield's performance was amazing. Like, that was probably the most emotional performance I've ever seen from this guy, and it was really well done. I felt the sorrow, I felt the pain. Andrew Garfield, please win an Oscar one day, because you have great potential and you have amazing talent. Amazing. But yeah, the death of Gwen Stacy is the biggest spoiler in this entire movie, and it is the most tragic and the saddest in my opinion. And kind of tying into the whole Gwen Stacy death, as I mentioned in my non-spoiler review, I said that the last 20 minutes of this film were just perfect. And I still stand by that statement, even though a lot of people were pissed that it felt like the Green Goblin was just shoehorned in at the last second to do the whole Gwen Stacy death. Honestly, you really didn't need to have him. I mean, you could have still done the Gwen Stacy death without the Green Goblin in my opinion, but I guess they wanted to remain faithful, so if they wanted to remain faithful, then make the Green Goblin the main villain. It's not that hard. And a lot of people were kind of comparing him to Venom from Spider-Man 3, how he was just kind of shoehorned in at the last minute and got little screen time. But I wasn't really bothered by this. Why? Because they never really emphasized the Green Goblin being the main villain in this film. Yes, he was one of the villains, but he wasn't the main villain. The main villain of the movie is Electro. And if Electro showed up only at the end of the movie, like the last third, then I would have been pissed. But he's in the movie very predominantly, so I wasn't that irritated. Now, I can see why people are pissed about it because, yeah, he does just kind of show up, I'm not gonna lie. But, again, I wasn't bothered by it too much, and I still kind of understood and went with it. Honestly, I just went with it because I really love Dane DeHaan's performance, and I wanted him to be more Harry Osborn than being the Green Goblin. So, again, wasn't too bothered by it, although it did feel kind of forced. But yeah, the last 20 minutes of this film were excellent. You got the showdown between Electro and Spider-Man, which was very thrilling and visually stunning. You got the Green Goblin figuring out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, which I actually found very shocking that he just put the two together by just seeing Gwen Stacy, just like looking at Gwen Stacy, then he looks at Spider-Man, then he looks back at Gwen Stacy, turns around to look at Spider-Man and says, "Peter." And I was like, whoa, he actually figured it out. That's actually something different. I mean, normally the villain wouldn't be like, "Oh, Peter, is that you?" No, he would have been like, "Oh, Spider-Man, that's your girlfriend? I'm just gonna kidnap her and do stuff to her." But no, they actually made him figure out that that's Peter Parker. And I was just like, well done, movie. Well done. Gwen Stacy's death and what happens after Gwen Stacy's death. And I really applaud the movie for this because instead of making Peter Parker forget about Gwen Stacy's death and don the Spider-Man mask and go, "Woo, having fun beating up villains," no, it had a profound effect on Peter Parker. So much to the point where he stopped being Spider-Man for 6 whole months. I was very proud that they did this because they easily could have just been like, "Oh, 6 months later, Spider-Man's okay now." But no, they actually focused on how much it really affected Peter Parker. And just those shots of him standing in front of her grave were haunting, sad, and beautiful at the same time. I mean, I really felt the pain that he was feeling. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have become Spider-Man again after all the blood that is on that costume. I wouldn't do it anymore. I'd give it up. But what brings him back to become Spider-Man, not only did I really like, but it is very logical that that would be something that would help him get out of his depression. He's having a talk with his Aunt May, and he's noticing that she's putting all of Uncle Ben's stuff in a box. And he's asking her, "Why are you doing that? Don't you want to keep the memory of him alive?" And she's like, "Yes, I will always remember Uncle Ben. He still is the love of my life. But when you lose somebody, you mourn for a bit, but you move on. You carry their memory with you." And I thought that was a very profound talk that Aunt May had with Peter. And it really spoke to him. And it spoke to me, honestly. I liked it. I really, really liked it. And I bought him coming back as Spider-Man. He knew he had an obligation and a duty to protect the city, even though all this tragedy has befallen him. I really, really liked it. Although I was pissed that the end shot of the movie is in the goddamn trailer. What the fuck, Sony? Stop doing this. Stop doing this. Enough. Another cool thing about this movie is they actually show you Peter Parker's parents at the beginning of this movie and why they disappeared and the secret behind their deaths and all that stuff that they should have done in the first movie. They explain it here in the second, and it was really good, like really good. That action scene was intense, really fun to watch, and very emotional too. Just watching Ben look at his dead wife as the plane's crashing to the ground. it touched me. It was really good. I was very happy that they put that in the film. And the last spoiler I'll talk about is dealing with Electro and His Demise. Now, as I mentioned in my non-spoiler review, I said that I did find Electro visually stimulating, very menacing and intimidating, and I thought Jamie Foxx did a pretty good job in the performance. But his character wasn't anything interesting, really underdeveloped and just straight up dull. When we first meet Electro, whose name is Max Dillon, he's just like this loser guy who's kind of mentally unstable. And one thing I did like is that when he's holding up this birthday cake, if you look at it closely, it's yellow and green with lightning bolts on it, which is the traditional Electro costume for those of you who know the Electro character. I thought that was a pretty clever Easter egg. That was pretty cool. But there wasn't really anything interesting about him. He's like this loser guy who nobody's friends with, and he's a little mentally unstable. And I did mention in my non-spoiler review that I didn't really buy his motive in becoming a villain. And what happens is he has this power, he goes to Times Square, sucks up all the energy, the police are like shooting him, he's like, please, stop, please, don't shoot me, and he goes, no! Spider-Man comes out of nowhere, he's like, hey, yeah, you're my eyes and ears, and he's like, yeah, don't worry, nobody's gonna shoot you, everyone put the guns down, there's a sniper somewhere to the left, I guess, that shoots him, and he goes, you lied to me. And something starts playing in his head, and I really hate that we have to go with these mentally unstable villains. Why can't we just have a villain that is mentally sound but is just maniacal? Can't we just have that? So I didn't really buy his motive in becoming a villain. And then his demise. I thought personally he didn't deserve to go out like that. I personally felt like Spider-Man should have at least reasoned with them. I don't remember anywhere in the fight where he tried to reason with Max Dillon. Not Electro, but Max Dillon, the person. It's like, hey Max, why are you doing all this? Why are you getting so angry? Let me help you. There was never a moment in the entire movie or in the entire fight scene at the end where he did that. He just says, okay, we're gonna overcharge him and I'll get rid of him. And then he explodes. And I was just like, as much as he wasn't a really interesting character, he didn't deserve to go out like that. He didn't really do anything bad to anybody. He was kind of spit on and beat on himself. So the fact that he got blown up at the end, and he's literally the only villain in the Amazing Spider-Man franchise that has died at this point. So whether or not he'll come back for the Sinister Six, we don't know. But I just really didn't like the fact that Spider-Man didn't try to reason with him and just decide to axe him. And honestly, that's all the spoilers from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that I want to talk about, thus ending my first ever BCG Spoiler Talk segment here on the Black Critic Guy. And I would like to know what you guys thought about this new segment. Did you like it? Do you want me to continue, or do you think it's way too long and you don't want to hear what I have to say about spoilers? Be sure to comment below and let me know. Also, let me know what upcoming movies or what upcoming animes would you like me to do spoiler talks for, so that I know in advance and I'll plan to do them. So be sure to comment and let me know all those stuff. And stay tuned, I do have an anime review coming your way this Tuesday. Get excited. But until that day comes, guys, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to my channel, welcome to the Black Critic Guy. Like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm Tony Watt II, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.